85-10. Now that's an odd combination, isn't it? I mean, when you put the two numbers together, 85 and 10, they only come up to 95. There isn't really a correlation between the two, but today we're going to change that. Today we're going to talk to you about how 85 and 10 can help you with your development, your growth, and even your own training.
Before we get any further, these two numbers that we're going to be talking about throughout this video refer to two percentages, 85% and 10%. And while on their own, they are both great rules or methodologies, when you combine the two, you really get an added benefit.
So my role in this whole 85-10 talk is centered around the idea of 85. But before I get into the details, let me go back to its history. I was first turned on to the idea of 85% while listening to a podcast by Tim Ferriss. In this podcast, he was interviewing Hugh Jackman. During the talk, they went through many topics. He referred to the idea about giving 85%. Now, this idea has come through in many forms before, but directly related to what he was discussing. This one dates back to about the 1970s, 1980s. There's a sprinter by the name of Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis was known for just really hitting and winning those 100-meter sprints. But in training, he would always be second to last every time they're at the 40-meter. Nobody knew why, until a sprint coach decided to observe his training and try to figure out his secret. As he was observing Carl Lewis, he started to notice something. Each time that Carl Lewis would sprint, he wouldn't change anything. From start to finish, he had the same movement pattern, the same power output, same breathing pattern. This was widely different from the other sprinters on the track. By the 50-meter, you'd see them huffing and puffing, expending so much energy, and Carl Lewis would just blast through. It almost looked like he would be gaining speed, but that isn't what was happening. He was staying consistent while everybody else was slowing down. Now that we've talked a bit about the history, let's talk about how this pertains to you. The 85% rule is basically a rule about consistency. You're working your body at a level of stimulus so that you can stay consistent with your training. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, right? Because we're all taught to train 2 to 3 times a week, blast it, then you're going to get that body that you deserve. Yet, when you look at more of the accomplished athletes out there, you'll see that the big thing that they work on is consistency. Day in, day out. There might be some mental grit there, but they have an understanding of their body. Understanding your body and knowing how to give it the right level of stimulus so that you can continue on day in and day out. Now that I've given you a bit of information on 85, Matt's going to talk to you about the 10 portion.
John, thanks for covering the 85% rule. The one that I was more familiar with that we'll talk about now is the 10% rule. Let's start with where this thing came from. Where did the 10% rule originate? A lot of it was based loosely on that general adaptation theory, the body's ability to adapt to stress over time. We can show steady progression forward without risking injury. So that being said, what is the 10% rule? Somebody who's running as an example. When you're looking to increase your base mileage week over week, you do so in 10% increments. And this gives your body enough room to grow without being overstimulated. You know, guys, last thing I want to talk about with the 10% rule and even with the 85% rule, to take this out of the gym, take it off the track or off the trail and apply these to your general life. We talked a lot about our body's ability to adapt to stress and that having limits. 85% and the 10% rule both play into what is that safe zone, what's the ideal training zone, and these can be applied to life. I mean, we can only take so much stress until it's detrimental to our health. So take these things outside of the gym, off the track, off the trail, whatever you're doing, and take a look at your life in general and see if there's improvements that you can make that will have a positive impact in the gym or on the track or on the trail.